Hello world, my name is Atticus, and today I'd like to talk about what makes numbers so much fun. That's not a joke. My original plan was to do this as a fun Halloween goof. What's spookier than math, right? But I legitimately find math to be an interesting topic. It's weird and abstract. So as someone mostly unqualified to talk about it, and in no coherent manner, I genuinely like to talk about some of the neat things I like about math. First though, there's a solid chance that you or someone you know has a visceral distaste for math, and I think that's worth talking about too. People have been thinking about math for thousands of years, which means that in order to get up to speed on where math stands today, a person has to have thousands of years of accumulated knowledge condensed and taught to them within their lifetime. And a lot of these lessons build on each other, so throughout one's school years, where math is a required course, at least where I'm from, you have 12 years of learning math, and if you get one bad teacher, you're playing catch-up for possibly the rest of your academic career. I've heard there are studies that show that one bad year in any subject counts for 2 years of learning loss. Even if the teacher isn't bad, it's incredibly easy to teach math in an intensely uninteresting way, and that's not going to get anyone jazzed about learning more math. So first things first, what is math? It's nothing, right? Math doesn't exist, at least not on its own. Math is the way in which we observe and quantify the world around us. It's a way to make sense of the universe. Divorced of those observations, math is meaningless. Which is why, while word problems may seem like they complicate an already complex problem, they can help the brain make sense of the topic at hand. The perimeter or area of an object seems like an abstract concept until you're trying to determine if that fancy desk will fit in your home office. And I really like that weird state that math exists in, where when I think of math, I do consider it an abstract concept, like the number 2 isn't anything on its own. But if you look at anything in the world, there's some math that you can do with it. Usually physics. Sorry, I'm reading the script. I have no idea what... The line I just read. There's some math you can do with usually physics. Next paragraph, we have a whole break. I don't know what happened. It starts, speaking of digits. We weren't speaking of digits! Maybe it's because I said the number 2 earlier. I don't know. Moving on, we're leaving this in. It's Halloween, baby. We're doing whatever. Speaking of digits, let's talk about number systems. We do most of our math in base 10, or decimal. And if you're unfamiliar with number bases, the concept is pretty simple. A number base tells you the scale of numbers. In base 10, we get 10 digits, and you can make numbers by smashing those digits together, and to make sense of that newly smashed together number, we can say that each number is equal to the digit multiplied by 10 raised to the position of the digit. So we start with 1 for the rightmost number, then 2 for the next, and 3, and so on. That's a lie. We start counting from 0. So we start with 0 for the rightmost number, then 1, then 2. 728 is equal to 8 times 10 to the 0, plus 2 times 10 to the 1, plus 7 times 10 to the 2. Since we all know decimal, that seems meaningless, but it does help when talking about other base systems, like base 2, or binary, as it is sometimes called. With this one, we get 2 digits, 0 and 1. And when looking at a binary number, we can convert it to decimal by looking at the powers of 2 in decimal. So for the number 1011100010, we can break it down to 0 times 2 to the 0, plus 1 times 2 to the 1, plus 0 times 2 to the 2, and so on. There's 10 digits. After filtering out the zeros, we get 512 plus 128 plus 64 plus 32 plus 2, which equals 728. It's not something I had ever really considered before college, that the way we write numbers is pretty arbitrary. I learned that these were the numbers and that was that. But it turns out, numbers can be whatever you want. Remember that episode of iCarly where she was a math tutor or something, and to get revenge on her charge for some slight, she taught them that there was a new number? They just started doing math in base 11. As a quick aside, Quentin Reviews is a YouTube channel that puts out very long retrospectives about Nickelodeon sitcoms, among other things. So while I didn't watch much, if any, Nickelodeon as a child, I do now know a lot about its old sitcoms. I don't know why I clicked on an 8-hour Victorious video in the first place, but it was interesting. Interesting enough to get me to watch several more hours even. Back to the numbers. Did you know that there's a quick way to check if a big number is divisible by a smaller number? We're essentially skirting around doing the math for x mod y equals 0. But I think it's a neat thing. By the by, if you're not familiar with the modulus operator, I wasn't until undergrad. It finds the remainder after division, so if a number divides evenly, then the modulus would be 0. Otherwise, it's the distance from the closest multiple less than the number we're checking. The checks for 2, 5, and 10 are pretty common, I believe. You look at the last digit of a number, and for 2, see if it's divisible by 2. For 5, check if it's a 5 or a 0, and for 10, check if it's a 0. 4 is a similar case, but instead of the last digit, it's if the last 2 digits are divisible by 4. 8 continues the trend with the last 3 digits, but I don't know all the multiples of 8 off the top of my head up through 1,000, so that's less helpful. Those all make a kind of sense. A multiple of 10 has to end in a 0, and similarly a multiple of 5 is either a 0 or a 5, and a multiple of 2 is going to be even. Then 4 is just 2 squared, so you check 2 powers worth of digits. It's not immediately apparent, but there's a bit of sense there. The weird ones are 3, 9, and 7. For 3 and 9, you can add the digits together, and if the sum is divisible by 3, or 9, then the number is divisible by 3, or 9. For 7, you take all the digits but the last one, and subtract from that number 2 times the last digit. So for 714, you do 71 minus 8, which equals 633, which is divisible by 7. Math works in a lot of interesting and weird ways, and while the proofs are usually unbearable to look at, that's what mathematicians are for. Let them do the hard work and report back on the cool math rules. We've now hit about the average script length for the past few videos, so here's a look behind the scenes. I'm writing this script on the 28th. I'll probably record it tomorrow and edit it on the 30th. That didn't happen. I'm recording and editing on the 30th. So it's good to go for Halloween. This is not the original video I was going to make this month. It's actually the 4th video idea I've had. I wrote and recorded a video about the Trail series, and it ended up being 12 pages long, and recording was over 30 minutes. The longest script I've made so far. And I sat on that for a week until I realized that there was yet more I wanted to say on the topic. So I put that one on hold, hope to see it in December, and started working on this one. That's why it's like this. Thanks for watching till the end. I have been Atticus, and thank you for participating.